Got yet another 10 styles for you today to pump into Midjourney with your prompts to get some pretty unique results. Add these to the end of your prompt, separated by a comma, and see what kind of effect it has on your images. Now, the first style we're going to go through is graphic interface. Now, this looks pretty bland as it is here, but add it to the woman's face and it adds kind of like a graphic interface around the contours of her face, which I think is a pretty nifty effect. Add it to Batman, we get this cool kind of graphic interface behind him, and it has a great way of sort of adding these type of digital elements around characters. So I choose the Incredible Hulk, and he's got kind of like interfacey type stuff on him, but then a graphic interface in the background. And Beyonce, something a little bit different this week. It's kind of added graphical elements to her and the way that she looks. So I think that's a pretty cool result. Now, before we go ahead, there's a few more mic bumps and noises in today's video, so I apologize if it ruins the experience for you. I've done my best to remove these where I can. The next style is Neon Core, a style which adds kind of neon lighting, but a bit of a sort of futuristic twist on it. But in this instance with the woman's face, he's kind of just added some neon colors and glows, which I think adds a really sort of cool sort of look on top of the face. And the Terminator, it focuses on that glow while keeping the color down. It's kind of like a bit of a duotone type effect in a way also, but overall, I really like the way it's combined the colors with this image. I did it to Barbie and it's sort of changed the style a little bit, and instead of focusing on the neon, it's still got that pink in there, but the skulls and the kind of different elements added to her I think is a really nice twist. And Darth Vader, it has added a few other bits and pieces of this, including the glow, the neon glow in the eyes, and a few other sort of nice elements around the shoulders to just make that a little bit more unique. The Modern Family Home, it's added some of that neon lighting and some of that color to it to just give it that neon core kind of appearance. Style 3 is Sponge Core. I was playing around with SpongeBob SquarePants last week, so I tried it out, Sponge Core, and got some interesting results. This is the woman's face. As you can see, we've got Sponge Core. It doesn't even look like a woman, but it's a very creepy look, but you do get a very unique twist on your images using this phrase. I added it to Darth Vader, and we got this other really unique look where his eyes are yellow. It tends to add a lot of yellow in there. It has a little bit of a Simpsons effect, but I think it still draws heavily from SpongeBob SquarePants. And the Samurai, you can see how it's changed the look of him to create something unique, a bit of a square looking head, but a little bit more badass than just normal SpongeBob SquarePants. The futuristic car, again, going for that yellow, but having a very unique cartoony appearance tied to it. Batman, a completely different looking image. Batman looks still pretty mean, but has a bit of a weird cartoony appearance to him. The lips is what got me. Overall, I think this image turned out really unique. But I actually got a bunch of unique images with Sponge Core, so try that out for yourself. Next is Jim Henson Muppet. A lot of the time it references Jim Henson, but a lot of the time it also adds a Muppet. This is Darth Vader. It's turned him into a Muppet, and it looks nothing like Darth Vader except for the clothing. I just thought that was a really interesting way. It kind of converted his head into a Muppet. The woman's face is again a bit different. She's got a bit of a funny look on her face, but still has human teeth. A little bit creepy in a way, but also just a fun twist on that image. Beautiful waterfall in nature has plopped a weird Kermit the Frog in there. The feet is what gets me to look more like tentacles, and just overall, very strange interpretation of the waterfall, but I love the way it added the Muppet in there. And the Terminator, it turned him into a bit of an ape, but a Muppet ape, and just a different look again. A bit of fun. It adds a lot of fun to these images when you play with the Jim Henson Muppet. The futuristic car, it's added Muppets on the top, giving it that sort of cartoony but real life look, because the Muppets was a real life sort of puppet show. So overall, very interesting effect. Now, concrete texture looks pretty bland and just as a concrete texture when you look at it by itself, but add it to a face and sometimes it'll embed things into concrete or give things a concrete texture. So the woman's face has a pretty cool look, and when you go to Batman, he's kind of embedded in the concrete with his head coming out a little bit. And also James Bond, for something different, is half concrete, kind of half Daniel Craig Bond. Very interesting sort of blend of the two. Beautiful waterfall in nature. This reminds me of Brutalism, which I did a little while ago, where it's added the concrete pillars and chunks to the waterfall. And the Terminator is actually made of concrete. It's chipped and cracking and smashing, and overall, that just added a really cool twist to that image. Now, the VHS effect distorted. Sometimes it distorts the image, but overall, it's the color effect it has. In this one, the way it kind of has a lighter black, and it has that kind of really blunt look to the images and the dulled colors. And it looks like she's actually got a bit of light on her face. But the image of Beyonce, same again, just the way it's blunted that look with the really light blacks, and it's not necessarily a VHS look, but it is a photographic look, which has that old kind of filter look to it on top, which is very interesting. Although when you switch to the futuristic car, it still has a little bit of that look, but I love the way it's gone for an 80s car and kind of used some of the glitch and some of the distortion on the road itself. Very interesting take on a futuristic car. An Incredible Hulk, again, more of a play on light, but it also it kind of just really makes the colors look a little old and faded. I just love the way it's impacted these images. Even though it wasn't what I was after, it's still something you can play with to get some pretty cool effects. Barbie looks like a photo from the 60s. I like the way it kind of frames the time into like that 60s, 70s, 80s style. Probably has because of the word VHS. But overall, I just like the way it handles a lot of these prompts. Claymation is an animation style where kind of like stop motion using clay, you get some very interesting sort of twists on some of your characters. So the woman's face, she's made out of clay, looks a little less like claymation and more like a clay sculpture. The futuristic car looks a little bit more like claymation, and the environment is what got me about this. The mountains, the way they kind of curve up, looks very cartoony and very claymation-y. Batman looks like a real claymation character. I love the interpretation of it, the face and the clay-looking texture on his abs and arms, and even the background looks like it's been made out of clay, despite the fact it's blurred out. Samurai in front of Mount Fuji, a little claymation figure standing in front of the mountain, although a little less clay and more of an actual cartoon, or not cartoon, more of an actual toy, like a figurine. And this is something that does happen with this effect a fair bit. We move to Darth Vader, it does look like a figurine, but a little bit of a soft clay style to the arms and legs. And the background is very interesting and different, not what I expected. It's done the same effect with the mountains in the background, which I think is really cool. Horror 3D render. So some of these might be a little shocking, but just check them out. They're not going to be too brutal. Anything that's too gory I have left out. The woman's face, this is a very shocking image. If you're not, this is probably about the most shocking image here. But overall, a very cool effect on the skin. The modern family home just looks like a modern family home, except there's clouds in the sky and that dull kind of stormy look that it adds to it, kind of like a scene from a horror movie. Darth Vader has incorporated that skull into the face. This reminds me a little bit of Dead Punk, but a little bit more straight to the death and horror than the kind of like the stylistic side of it that comes with Dead Punk. Now Barbie still kind of looks like Barbie, but more of a bit of a creepy undead version of her with massive hands holding a candle. And we have App Icon. This is a really cool way to create images that look like app icons for your phone. So the woman's face just looks like a simple icon for your phone of a woman's face. The Batman logo, a little bit more dynamic and three-dimensional, but really fits the idea of an icon. I really love what it did with this one. Beyonce, it's got that cartoony look to it like you might expect for, say, like a video game or a kid's video game on a phone or tablet. And the modern family home, a little bit of the same thing again with a 3D look. Looks like a 3D video game. Futuristic car, it really kind of just looks like a car, but the way it's clean, cut out, and the way the illustration style is really something that will be suitable for an app icon. I think it's a very, very powerful phrase. If you are looking to create very quickly app icons, Midjourney could be a really good source for graphics for that kind of thing. Bronze bust statue. Converting things to bronze statues, I think, is just a bit of an experiment, and I really like the way it turned out. The woman's face, it's just got that heavy bronze statue look to it. It looks like an actual photo that someone's carved out of this little bronze statue. Pikachu, for some reason, has an angry look on his face, but I like that, and I like the way he's kind of got the claws out, looks a little bit mean, but overall, a really cool effect. Homer Simpson took some artistic license here, adding the mustache, the crazy mouth. It looks a little bit like Homer Simpson, but just a little bit different as well. The futuristic car, it's focused on the statue still, but with the goggles and the headpiece, the way it's made this person look like a pilot from the future, kind of like a retro future, like a car driver where they'd be wearing a helmet. Definitely not what I expected, but still very cool. Samurai in front of Mount Fuji. You can see at the bottom, it's kind of like just where it ends there, it's like a bust statue of a samurai in front of Mount Fuji. Once again, looks like a photo. And finally, the Terminator. Looks exactly like the Terminator. Proper bust statue. The stand at the bottom. Every detail is great, but it looks just like what an actual statue of this would look like, which I think is really cool. So those are the styles for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and like this, and have an experiment, see what kind of results you can get. And also, don't forget to try combining some of these to see what results you get as well, because sometimes you can find some really cool stuff that way. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.